The Garden Report is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
So everyone's going to be worried about the center depth right now, what they're losing in now. Porzingis is injury proneness, of course. In the whole dynamic of what they were doing before, giving up Smart, adding Porzingis, having the two big men behind him, you still needed Porzingis to be healthy and to do everything that you imagined he was going to do for this whole thing to work here. So you're really not in all that different of a place, I don't think, in terms of the health and availability and depth at the position. You said it the other day, John. How many teams have 3 starting level centers? Not many. So you have 2, and that's good enough.
Look at what you've got. You've got 2 top 7 wing players. You have 2 outstanding point guard types, and you have 2 very, very, very good bigs. That's your team. That's your depth. That's all you've got. But you're strong at every position. You just don't have a lot behind.
You don't need a third string big man if you're healthy.
In your deep depth. And so if you're healthy, less so. And then you get by with, you just have to live with 10 to 12 Cornette minutes, 12 to 14 Hauser minutes, 10 to 12 Pritchard minutes, and that's it. That's your team. That's 9 players. That's how it works. That's what you play. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that you just got to live with that. And whoever steps up, whether it's Brissett or, right, exactly.
And if Porzingis gets hurt, you're screwed anyway.
I mean,
that's how it was always going to be.
Any team loses a key player,
you're going to be screwed.
If not screwed, they've got a lot of work to do there, to get it going. So, and I don't know if you think anybody else steps up. I know they're bullish on Walsh. I don't know if he can make real strides this year.
O'Shea.
But, and O'Shea obviously is another one that you're talking about. Who's the other guy I'm forgetting? The defensive guy.
Lamar Stevens came in.
Lamar Stevens, you think is going to get some minutes as well because he can defend?
I love that pickup.
And
I felt better about Lamar's minutes before Jrue came on the scene. Put it that way.
Yeah,
that's true.
But here's the thing: is that's a person who played legit minutes on a contending team on a solid team last year. So that's not a throwaway. That's someone you can trust to play minutes and fill a role. So if the role players fill their roles, the talent level is off the charts for this team right now. And just again, think back where they were, right?
Wonder if this pulls Blake back into the mix too. They have an open roster spot now, so maybe he ends up saying, "All right, this team's much closer than it looked a couple of days ago. I'm gonna jump back on the bandwagon here."
Or maybe we'll see Blake at some point past training camp.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, if I were Blake, that would be my play. If there was a team that I felt that, I want to play with them, but let me just let this training camp stuff get out of the way, and then I will join forces.
And he could potentially play some minutes on this team. We'll debate the starting lineup going forward. The one thing I do worry about, though, at that center spot, what they were doing with the double bigs this year boded better for Porzingis to stand near the rim and just defend the rim, which fit his mobility issues well. I do worry a little bit about him being at center alone if they're playing a Milwaukee where Dame's going to be stepping around the screen and firing up 11 threes a game, and he has to get out to the perimeter to guard those. They're going to have to get a little creative, back to your point, Sherrod, the coaching here in terms of how they handle those pieces on the roster right now to make it work with Porzingis at center here, because he did play with the center last year. I believe he played with a center in Dallas too, off the top of my head. I can't really remember. And of course he did going back to the Knicks. So he hasn't been alone at center a lot throughout his career. He's always had a guy who can step out and guard the perimeter a little bit better next to him. So that does leave you a little bit exposed here too. But again, could you have relied on Rob this year? That's what I keep going back to. It was always going to be a risk. You wanted to, but you didn't know. Can he start? Right. Can he stay healthy? Can he fit next to Porzingis? We had a million questions about that.
Yeah, I don't think Porzingis is a very good defender. He doesn't totally suck, but he's not very good. But he's 7'3", and he's playing away from the basket often. So on those pick and rolls, he's not going to defend those shots well, other than use his length. And that's the thing I really want Joe to just kind of get him to understand, that you don't have to lock kids up defensively. Use that 7'4", 7'5" wingspan of yours to contest shots. Yeah. That's literally what they need you to do. Be a shot contester. You don't have to be a great shot blocker. You don't have to lock guys in and have them moving to where they don't want to go. Just contest shots better. That's all you really have to do at that position for him.
Yeah, it does become a challenge against the great three-point shooters, though, and it has for him in the past.
Yeah.
Remember, I think it was in the bubble. He's just kind of sitting there watching Dame fire up threes with the Blazers as he made 3 after 3 after 3. So there's still some questions.
But Dame does that to everybody. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And you have Porzingis is not like, a mark in that regard. That's what,
and you have
that's game. It's game.
Yeah, and you have 2 of the best defensive guards here in the league to navigate those screens and fight through them. And
you have first team and second team all defensive guards on this team. You have 2.
Is there a better defensive backcourt?
You have 2 wings who, when they want to, are capable of playing all defensive level defense. Brown, I'm not so sure about, honestly, but like they're athletic enough to be able to play defense. You've got Al who can guard multiple positions and obviously is good against those bigger bodies. So again, the burden on a guy like Porzingis, he doesn't have to be. It lessens the burden on him to be the guy who, swats away everything in the big rim deterrent when it's just you've got so much pressure on the ball at the perimeter and so many people swarming all over the place. It's going to it's just going to be challenging to score.
It still fits the system well because those guys can funnel the opposing guards into the mid-range.
The CLNS Media Network is powered by FanDuel. Sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston. And get in on the action with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose.
And,
Let me ask you this. I do believe, though, Sherrod and Jimmy were gung-ho and Bobby and I were a little on the fence. As much as it was for me an emotional attachment to Rob, I also think that it's possible the team you had was already a title contender, and now this team is also a title contender, but is it that much more of one? So what do you guys think? Is this team significantly better than they were an hour ago?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. I think so, because when you look at winning a championship, John, and we both know this, it's not so much about what your team can do, but what can your team do to the others who are contending? How do you match up against others? And you look at the Eastern Conference, Milwaukee made a major push to get Dame, and that positioned them to be at the table of last team standing. And Boston has countered that chess move with literally the guy that you got rid of to bring in Dame, essentially. And that is in the context of all the other pieces that you already had in place if you're the Celtics. So, yeah, I mean, they were a title contender before the move, and they're, I think, an even stronger one now because they've addressed what I think most people thought might be their potential downfall, and that is a lethal pick-and-roll tandem with Giannis, who can pretty much get anything and everything he wants going to the basket, and Dame, who can do similar, and he can get everything he wants beyond the three-point arc. Now you've got a guy in Jrue Holiday who can kind of muck that up a little bit for Milwaukee. It's not as clean and smooth a process for them to do some of the things that they want to do because Boston now has as close to an equalizer as you could potentially have. And by no means, please don't confuse that with saying Jrue and Dame are the same. Dame is a better player. But Jrue, in the context of the players that he's going to be with now in Boston, they can do some things to make life for Dame way harder than it would have been if Boston did not make this deal.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, part of me was, like when Milwaukee made the trade, I was like, good. I guess they're better, but I didn't think they were that much better.
Don't you think they could have predicted too that he'd end up in Boston? That's what surprises me. I think
it was possible. I do wonder if you told Milwaukee ahead of time, you can do this, but Holiday's going to end up a Celtic. Would they be like, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah. Did they think the Heat were going to strike or something? Or
yes,
Warriors?
I think Milwaukee gambled on the fact that we'll get Dame and Jrue will go out to Portland, and then Philadelphia or Miami will add him, and they know we're still will be better than Philadelphia and Miami, and so I think they took a calculated gamble that he would not end up in Boston, and I think part of that was because they're basing it on how the Celtics have done in the past. They're having the Danny Ainge flashbacks because Danny Ainge I don't think would have done this deal. I don't think Danny would have done this deal.
Man, Danny wouldn't have done a lot of deals they've done in recent years.
Right. But Brad,
Romeo would still be here.
All right, Bobby. No, there will be no Romeo slander on this this episode. There will not be any of that. No, I just think that Brad has established himself as his own man in terms of being a GM. And part of that identity is rolling the dice on players like this. And it's not even that big a roll of the dice on the player as much as it is on the assets that you're parting with. Something that Danny, I thought, had trouble letting go of, because I do think that Danny got very attached to his players that he draft. And sometimes that attachment would almost make him pause before doing what most other GMs in that position would have done.
You mentioned the assets going out. You're also sacrificing something in the future, I think. And we talked about this a little last episode. This is a guy on a 1-year deal, effectively. $37 million. If he gets the full 140% increase that he's due in the next contract, he could start at $50 million next contract.
Not happening.
So hopefully you have something worked out here, or you at least have an idea of what he could make. And they've worked with his agent before. It's Jaylen Brown's agent, as well as Smart's and Horford. So they have a good relationship with the agent here, but I don't think he's going to give them a huge discount either, just because of that.
Well, I don't think he's going to give him a huge discount unless Jrue makes it clear that, look, this is where I want to be. If they win a championship this year, that changes everything in a good way for the Celtics, because if you are part of a championship team, you're more likely and willing to leave a little bit of money on the table to keep the band together, so to speak. And if it's Jrue Holiday, you've won 2 championships with 2 different teams, and the team that you're on now, you're not counted on to be the best player or the second best player, not even the third best player. And if that's the case, you can transition gracefully into just being a role player, making good money. And you know, again, as you pointed out, Bobby, the fact that his agent also represents Jaylen and all those other guys, he understands the economics of the Celtics better than any agent out there. So he knows what his guys value.
You just dropped a bomb on it with the Brown contract.
I wonder if I wonder if the Celtics do the Harden with him, you know, like, you know,
go year to year.
Opt in, and there's something waiting for you. There's pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but
he does have an opt in, for probably close to $40 million. So that could
I wonder
be the
how that
compromise.
goes. We have a couple more aspects of this we want to talk about. Again, quickly, we want to tell you about, and Sherrod, let's tilt it back. There it is. Sherrod came ready and rolling with AG1, another sponsor here on the Garden Report. Our partner here, AG1, is a daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it every day. Sherrod drinks it every day because, one, I like everything that it does for me. It tastes good, tired of taking a lot of supplements, wanted a single solution, and that's what AG1 does. You take it in the morning, usually before working out, or while you're making your coffee. Bang, 1 scoop, cup of water, and you're done. Boosts in energy, immune system, gut health, whatever have you. Again, as we said, one-stop shopping for all of that stuff. Instead of going to get a million pills and supplements, you just have it all there. AG1, it ends up being less than $3 a day. So go check it out right now. Go to right here, drinkag1.com/garden. You get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs, with Jimmy Toscano has taken with him on the road right now. Jimmy doesn't settle for the 5. Jimmy buys like 30 travel packs and takes them with him. I'm not kidding.
Insane.
Yeah. This isn't blowing smoke either. Everybody in the Garden Report religiously takes this down. So definitely check it out if you are interested. Other sponsor of ours, and again, if you're too busy and you're on the go and there's a lot going on for us tomorrow as well with Celtics Media Day. Factor Meals is the answer for you. It's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. You have a ton of different selections and options, and it's fresh, delivered to your door. It takes 2 minutes to heat it and eat it, and you are good to go. So again, super busy in the fall with back to school, kids, work heating up and all of that stuff. Factor Meals is the answer for you. Check it out at factormeals.com/newsfeed50. Use the code newsfeed50 for 50% off. Once again, factormeals.com/newsfeed50. Use the code newsfeed50 for 50% off, and support either of those sponsors right there. Give us a receipt for it. Kaboom.
Boom.
Garden Report t-shirt, fresh for you to start the season right. Go check it out. Garden Report t-shirt.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds Are. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too, especially since Celtics All Access listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/Celtics. That's oddsr.com/Celtics.